Good evening, coaches. My name is Matt Buller with the Glazier Football Clinics, and I'd like to welcome all of you to tonight's webinar presented by Huddle Fundraising. We're honored tonight to have Coach Tim Tulloch, the Assistant Head Coach and Defensive Coordinator at the College of San Mateo, with us to speak on attacking O-line protections out of the 3-4. Before we get started with the webinar, I want to go through a couple of quick messages with you coaches. There's two options for audio tonight. Option number one is your computer speakers. This option is the default, and most of you are probably already listening to us through your computer speakers. Option number two is the telephone. To listen by telephone, go to the webinar control panel, expand the audio portion of the control panel, and click on the telephone radio button. Then dial the number shown and enter the access code when prompted. With Huddle Insider accounts, you can give parents, alumni, and fans their own Huddle login and raise money for your team. Who gets an insider invitation is entirely up to you. All you need is their email address to get things started. You choose the price they pay for an entire season's worth of access and determine exactly what video they can watch. Keep track of sent invitations and use your funds at any time right in the fundraising tab on huddle.com. The staff season pass is only $349, and it includes all of your coaches, including varsity, JV, middle school, and feeder programs as well. Glazier Clinic Online is also included in the season pass, offering over 50 instructional videos, over 1,000 sets of clinic notes, and over 200 archived webinars. If you're not a Glazier season pass holder and you're interested in trying out Glazier Clinic Online, email Aaron Coughlin at acoughlin@glazierfootballclinics.com with your name, school, and organization, and he'll set you up with a 3-day free trial. Once again, that's acoughlin@glazierfootballclinics.com. Coaches, the season pass also includes discounts from some of the top football vendors. Some of the vendors offering great discounts on their products and services are Huddle, Sport Decals, and Rogers Athletic. You can find the complete list at www.glazierclinics.com. Concussions are a scary reality in sports today. The average high school football player takes over 650 hits to the head every single season. The average lineman takes over 1,000 hits. All of those subconcussive blows add up. Guardian caps absorb up to 33% of the impact in every hit. We know that you need all of your players in the game in order to have a winning season. An old adage says you can never be fully protected, just better protected. Over 8,000 Guardians were on the field in 2012 with coach endorsements from across the country. Visit GuardianCaps.com for the new lower team pricing for the 2013 season. Since 1968, football coaches have trained youth, high school, college, and professional champions by making Rogers Athletic football training sleds and dummies an important part of their practices. Football practice drills on Rogers equipment help coaches teach player fundamentals and protect athletes by limiting the amount of live contact. Their blocking and tackling sleds, offensive and defensive lineman chutes, and football dummies give your players the confidence to practice with game day aggressiveness. They also supply all your football field equipment from goalposts to chain crew sets to give your stadium a professional look. Rogers youth football training equipment, youth sleds, youth dummies, youth chutes safely teach new players the basic fundamentals of football. Rogers also understands that champions are made long before the games begin. Winning a championship on the field starts before the cleats even hit the turf. It starts in the weight room. Our principles of innovation, quality, and skill development are our top priority. From our heavy-duty pendulum power racks to our complete line of pendulum plate-loaded machines, you can train the entire body. Build explosive leg strength, a strong core, an iron grip, and neck training to help prevent injury and lower concussive forces in your athletes. You can see the difference. You can feel the difference. No wonder that the most serious athletes, from professional football players to America's elite military forces, train with Pendulum. Quality, innovation, and value from the trusted leader, Rogers Athletic. For more information, visit www.rogersathletic.com. Coach's Choice is the place to go if you're looking for the best instructional books and DVDs. They have a full library of instructional material from many different categories. To access these videos, visit their website at www.coacheschoice.com. For the very best offense, defense, and special teams coaching systems out there, go to the free content link, www.championshipsystems.com/free preview. This is the proud home of the Nolma Zone Spread Offense System, Bruce Cobley Wing T Hybrid System, Bill Clark 3-4 Total Defense Program, Pat Fox Pressure 8 Man Front G Defense, and so much more. For our outstanding June pricing special, call Jeff at 719-964-3284. Now I'm going to go ahead and give control over to Coach Tulloch. Coach, if you could click on the Show My Screen button when it appears.
Will do.
While Coach Tulloch's getting set up, before he gets started, I want to go through some brief instructions with everyone. Keep in mind that there are a lot of coaches on tonight, so be sure to save questions for the end of the webinar. Coach Tulloch is going to stick around for the end of the session, and we're going to open up the floor for questions at that time. If you have a question that comes up and you don't want to forget it, you can submit your question in the questions text box, and I'll be sure and address it at the end of the presentation. Also, you can hide your webinar control panel by pressing on the button on the left of your control panel. It has a white arrow that points to the right with an orange background. That'll minimize the box and allow you to see Coach Tulloch's entire presentation. I will hand it over now to our speaker for today, Coach Tim Tulloch. Again, Coach, we're honored to have you with us today and look forward to your presentation.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. All fellows and coaches that you guys are out there listening, appreciate you guys taking the time to talk ball with us tonight. Starting off, we are talking tonight about attacking offensive line protections out of a base 3-4 defense. I'm the defensive coordinator here at College of San Mateo in junior college here in Northern California. Take down my cell number, 650-642-1101, and my email address, which is on screen now. If you have any questions afterwards and you want to talk directly, I'm always open and available. We also, our practices and meetings are open if you guys are in the area and want to talk ball or come watch practice. There's an open invite for you guys. Just reach out to me ahead of time. So let's start. The main part of our presentation today is going to be on PowerPoint. I have a little bit of video stuff at the end that we're just going to show some screenshots, but we're going to focus on PowerPoint. If we want to do video and whatnot later, we can do that. Everything that we talk about tonight is really stuff that we've learned from other sources. We have not reinvented the wheel here at CSM. We play hard, but a lot of the influences that you're going to see tonight are influences from these guys that have been open to share with us and share their football insights with us that we've been able to go and learn from and come back to us. So starting with Larry Owens here, who's my mentor and longtime head coach here at College of San Mateo, but guys like Pete Carroll, Brian Stewart, who's now at Maryland, Wade Phillips, Ron Rivera, Rex Ryan, Herman Edwards, Tony Dungy, and Mike Nolan, all those guys have been big influences on what we do from a defensive side of the ball here at CSM. So I want to make sure to mention those guys. Our model of success. What we try to do here is use an NFL scheme, fundamentals, concepts, techniques. Use it here at a junior college level. And what we do is we think that gives our players an advantage and prepares them. As a coaching staff, we believe we got to keep the blade sharp, so it's always learning. What we're doing tonight, talking ball. We try to talk ball as much as we possibly can. We try to go to an NFL training camp every year. Next week we're going to be in Atlanta at the Falcons training camp. Our defensive staff is. We're also going to spend a couple days at University of Alabama and University of Georgia. Last year went to the Seahawks. The year before that, Chargers, Cowboys. So we're always trying to keep the blade sharp and learn and talk ball. What we think it translates to is our players are prepared. They have solid fundamentals, and I think that's, as a coach, one of the biggest gifts that we can give our young men is teaching them great fundamentals, teaching them how to play the right way, and I think that helps with recruiting and preparing them for the next level. Helping them get recruited. This year we're going to sign 32 guys, and a lot of that just becomes guys playing fundamentally sound and playing hard. The 3-4 defense, a big part of why we run it. We've studied within the NFL and a lot of the top teams. This is last year, a year ago, but not last year, but the year before. The top defenses in the NFL, and what I care about most is points allowed, and at least 4 of these top 6 teams are base 3-4 teams. So you can see it. Pittsburgh is famous for it. San Francisco is famous for it. And you see a lot of those teams running a 3-4, which is a big reason why we brought it back and run it here. Just some of the notes on us. Again, this is last year, a year ago. 2 in the state in points allowed with 15. 2 in the state in interceptions, and a lot of the interceptions and the sacks come as a result of pressure. Okay, so let's go to overall. Let's start high level. Let's talk philosophy. Philosophy-wise, first off, why do we run a 3-4? So you understand what we're running, why we're running it, and then how we're going to get into attacking protections. First off, one of the misconceptions that I had before we moved to the 3-4 was that it wasn't very good against the run. It was a nickel defense, and we were a 4-3 defense prior. And that was a misconception that I learned once I studied it more. Very, very strong against the run, reduces a lot of the O-line blocking angles. Right off the bat, it eliminates certain base runs due to the front. Simple for us as far as alignment. When I'll show you our alignments, just our base odd alignments. Also, we believe reduces gap fit errors with our linebackers. But this is one of the most important ones, which we're going to talk tonight. As we see so much spread and so many, the game going to high tempo and throwing it all around, attacking protections and getting after the quarterback is becoming more and more critical. And we want to cause protection problems, and it's easy to do out of the 3-4. So it's easy to overload protections and cause problems up front. For us, always hard to find great defensive linemen, so the ability to play with 3 instead of 4 is big, and at times being able to play with smaller or undersized defensive linemen or one-dimensional defensive linemen, it's more of a linebacker's defense than it is a defensive lineman's defense as far as having to be great. And so having the ability to do that helps us a lot. Gives the offense the same look, doesn't give them pre-snap reads or bubbles. A lot of times offenses like to check to the one technique or run to the bubble, and having an odd front takes that away. It also, if we do it right and we play well up front, we can play with smaller inside linebackers because they're covered up. At times for two for us at the junior college level, we get those guys that are 6'2", 230 pounds that are kind of tweeners, and they're a little bit small to play D end, maybe a little big to play inside linebacker or outside linebacker. So in a 3-4, we can play those guys, those tweeners, as our rush or outside linebackers and get them on the field and let them make plays. We also think it's pretty flexible as far as adjustments. Okay, so let's talk into our goals, and this is how we kind of set the table for attacking protections. First off, like I said before, preventing points is mission critical. That's number one, and not giving them a lot of opportunities to throw the ball helps with that. We're usually a stop the run first defense, so we are going to put guys in the box, outnumber teams in the box, and make sure that teams can't march up and down on the field on us running the ball. And so a lot of teams' answers to more guys in the box or a single high defense is throwing the ball. And so our answer is answering that majority of the times with pressure. Okay, so pressure is one of our key goals, and getting to that quarterback and rattling them and disrupting. That's a big part of what we do. Other goals that we have, if you guys want to see our overall goals, tackling the pursuit, creating turnovers, winning third down, and not giving up big plays, not giving us cheap fatals or cheap and easy ones over the top. Big part of what we do. Our goals always are something that we talk about all the time. We talk about it after games. We have a big goal board. This is our defensive goal board, which is on the wall right outside the locker room. Players, every time they walk in the locker room, they pass it, and they can see how we do against every team and how we define the goals and how we're specific with them with points at 17 or less, stopping the run, what we're trying to do there. But most importantly today is pressure in the quarterback. So hits on the quarterback is the way we measure pressure. You're not always going to get there with sacks, but beating that guy up, being physical with the quarterback, we measure, and we want every game to at least get 10 hits on the quarterback, and that's something that we track, we talk about, we reward, we get fired up about, we get excited when we can get to the quarterback. So that's the way we track that. So attacking protections is critical versus defending the spread, and we'll talk philosophy on that first. For many years, we tried to solve all the route combinations and all the spread defense with many coverage adjustments. And we've worked our way to a point here where we're not trying to solve everything with a coverage adjustment, with a tweak to this and how we're going to handle that combination. And we're not going to run 10 different coverages here. So we're not going to try to solve defending the spread with coverage. We start in the front. Okay, so we're going to look up front. We're going to look at how we can attack the offense. We're going to look at how we can attack their offensive line, their running back, their tight ends in protection, and that's what we're going to spend majority of the time tonight on is starting in the front, not the back. So look up front, attack up front, and find ways to get there. We're going to break down protections. We're going to break down offensive line and personnel within the backfield, anyone who's protecting, and invest most of our time and efforts there. And in the back, we want to be simple yet complex enough to give different looks. So we will have a couple two high coverages, a couple single high coverages, and be as good as we possibly can in those. And that's it. So, some two deep zones, some three deep zone, and some man, and being able to mix looks in the back and be as good as we can in the back at that to give hesitation or doubt with when to the quarterback, not tip it off and show it, but spend majority of our time up front. Okay, just if you do have questions on our 3-4 base alignment, this is our odd front, which is our base alignment, and again, it's the alignments are simple, fellas. I mean, it's the ends head up on the tackles, it's backer head up on the tight end, and nose head up on the center. And this would be our base 3-4 front, and we will be able to shade and kick into some different fronts from it, unders and overs and those types of things from it. But for the most part, this is what we live in, and most of the other stuff are adjustments. When it comes to attacking protections, a big part of what we do is built into practice, and I think being thoughtful about your weekly practice plan and how you're going to get to attacking protections and how you're going to practice it with your guys so they get enough reps at it to be good is huge. So we always look at practice, and again, practice and what we preach. We run what's called, we call a pressure period. And we do it in group work, defensive group work, at least twice a week. And what we're doing in this pressure period is we usually will start off with barrels or trash cans, and we will run all of our blitz tracks, and we'll run them over and over and over and over and over again. And we usually use a cone or a coach for the quarterback. And the thing that we're driving home with the players is the speed and the intensity of the pressure. So it's is the timing right? Is the disguise right? How hard are we rushing to get there? And offense, the coordinators in our conference are outstanding. They do a great job with protection pickup, and so we always preach to our guys the speed and the intensity of the pressure is most important of all. If we can play with more intensity than they play, we usually got a good chance to win. So we'll set up barrels, and we'll run our blitz tracks over and over and over again. We will progress to having a scout offensive line, giving the different protection looks, and a coach for a quarterback. And that coach's job, it's usually our linebacker coach, Coach Sakona. If he doesn't feel the pressure, or he feels creases in run lanes or escape lanes for the quarterback, or creases in contain and whatnot, he'll stop, redo it. Stop, redo it. If we don't feel like we're getting enough intensity in the pressure, we'll stop and we'll do up downs. So the guys, the players are trained during this period that it's when we do rush, it's a high tempo rush, a high energy rush. And we're pressuring, and we're getting there, and we're going to do that over and over and over again. Our defensive line coach, Coach Heck, will be giving the scout offensive line different protections. So it may be slide or man or the different protections, and we'll run those blitzes over and over and over and again with it. Sometimes with a tight end, sometimes with an offset back and gun, and we give them all the looks that we think that we're going to see, and rep it and rep it and rep it. Other things that we do. Many teams, as an answer to pressure, screen us. So we'll mix in screens in this pressure period. So we get used to reacting to screen, and it becomes kind of second nature for the guys. It's drilled. The other thing is, while one group is doing this, we may have our first group of D-line and linebackers repping our pressures over and over and over again. Our second group would be on the other side of the field, and they would be working our zone pressure pass drops. So we get a lot of reps for the guys. There's not a lot of guys standing around. So it's a 10-minute period for this pressure period. Maybe the first group has the first 5 minutes of pressure. They get as many reps as we can get in that 5-minute period, and then they'll switch and rotate over. Our DB coach and myself will be on the other side working our zone pressure drops, and we'll get a bunch of reps versus formations on the other side. So while the second group is running the pressures for the second 5 minutes. So we'll run it over and over and over again, get the guys a lot of reps, and they get comfortable with blitzing. Other things that we do in practice with attacking protections and blitzing is we believe, our head coach and myself, we believe we must have competitive blitz periods versus the offense. We got to do that weekly. It gets our offense good at picking up protections. We do that, everybody's live except for the quarterback, and it gets us good work at timing, at hitting things hard, at getting physical and getting in the backfield and making it competitive. Ones versus ones, twos versus twos. It's another way to drill it. It's a way to drill it against the offense for us, and it's a competitive deal where we keep score, and which always helps. Anything we can do to compete and keep score helps get the juices flowing with our guys, and helps make it more of a game-like situation. Helps make each other better, gets the offense prepared, gets the defense prepared. We'll do ones versus ones, twos versus twos, and again, helps us work timing to disguise, not tipping off our pressures. Other things that we do during the week in practice is we do a lot of situational periods. So making sure we're running our pressures in those situations. So if it's a third and long, examples of third and long period, we get a third and long period and we know it's going to be a situation we're going to pressure a fair amount of the time. We're going to run those pressures in third and long situations. Helps the DBs know how to play the sticks in the first down marker. It helps us disguise. It helps us know how much time we have to get there. Third and short versus third and long and those types of things. So helps us get prepared, helps us and as always, kind of the foundation here is compete, compete, compete. So as much as we can compete and work blitz periods into competition periods and work it into practice, we think is a big part of what we do. Okay, getting into protections. This is critical for our players, but even more importantly for our coaches. Classifying protections. We spend a lot of time as a coaching staff making sure we are always using the same terminology, we are speaking the same language, and that filters all the way down to the players. So one of the things that we do is classify protections. In an odd front, there's a certain amount of protections that we're going to see, and there's only a certain amount of protections that most teams can pretty much run anyways. And I'll show you kind of some of the ways that we classify them. If we get a man protection where it's turn out and they're turning the tackles out to the outside linebackers, the guards to the DNs, and locking the center on the nose, we'll call that man fan protection, or for short we just say that's fan protection with the back assigned to the mic. That right there is something that we all as a coaching staff and players say, hey, that's fan protection. We got one word, one syllable, we can easily identify it, and allows us to say, okay, we're all on the same page with what that protection is and what it's called. From there, we're going to decide how we want to attack that, and we'll talk about that in a second. We also get man protection at times where we get tackles locked on DN, center locked on nose, tackle locked on a DN, with guards double reading, with guards reading inside backer out to the edge, and that's protection that we would attack a different way. And we would disguise and or mug or do different things with these guards to cause them protections, but we just call this man double read. We just call it double read protection here, and that's, again, coaches being on the same page. In addition to man protections, we see some slide protections. We call this partial slide, where these guys are zoned off. They usually slide from the uncovered lineman over. guard, center, guard, tackle, they all have the gap in this protection to their right. So this is slide, what we would call from a defensive perspective, slide left, and then this would be the zone side, and this over here would be the man side. So the tackle would be locked on the X. The back is man, B gap out to the edge. Okay, so this is what we call the man side of the partial slide, and this is what we call the zone side. We have certain ways that we want to attack partial slide, and another protection that we see as well is full slide, and this is where everybody's gapped, and the back is automatically stepping to the edge. So we as a coaching staff have to make sure that we are speaking the same language. I just put a couple examples of up here of protections that we see. You as a staff need to make sure you understand what you guys see and can call it whatever terminology you call it, but make sure that you have that library there. Once you have the protections broken down, and end zone film is huge for that. So if you're not filming end zone yet, I think that's critical for you to be able to identify and understand protections. Once you have your protections logged and in your playbook, first off is starting with how we're going to attack those protections. All right, and this is a lot of this can be done now, done in the off season. So off season staff work. First off is let's look at the protections we see. If you have a 10-game schedule, look at each team. Let's look at how they protected against you last year if you're playing those same teams again. For us, teams protect against an odd front a certain way. What are the most common protections you're going to see over the course of the year, and see, we saw a certain, just say, for example, we saw slide protection, for example, say 60% of the time, then we'd rep those ratios. If we only saw man-fan protection 5% of the time, we'd rep against that a lot less. So make sure you know how much you're seeing each protection. Identify what pressures you like to attack those protections. Make sure that you have some run pressures and some pass pressures. Again, we're going to focus a little bit more on pass today. And then limit the number of total pressures. You'll never see us here at CSM, write a book saying 101 pressures out of the 3-4. We're going to run a limited number of pressures. We're going to run them really well over and over again against all the different looks. And what we believe that does is helps our guys play fast. So big part of what we do is keeping it simple, again, but yet complex for the offense if they don't know which side we're running the protection from, how we're getting there, where we're matching up. So, but for our guys, it's simple. It's these blitz tracks over and over and over again. When you get into a game, it's trying to attack those protections using 4-man rush, 5-man rush, and at times 6-man rush. We usually live more in the 4- and 5-man rush area. If you have, let's just say man-fan protection, having a way to attack that man protection with maybe 1 or 2 what we call stunts. 4-man protection, we're using one of the backers and 3 defensive linemen. Having a way to attack partial slide and full slide, which are very similar in the way we attack it, with a 4th rusher. So having just a couple different ways to get there and having those in your menu and something that you rep it over and over and over again. Again, 5-man, what we call blitz. And this is, again, having 2 really good blitzes that you like against man-fan, 2 really good blitzes that you like against partial slide, and if you had those in your menu, you're good. And then a 6-man pressure, at least 1 or 2 6-man pressures that are what we call dogs, that are good against each protection. And so you always have that in your menu. And if you can get there with 4, if you can get a monster outside linebacker, somebody, one of your best players on a running back, and he's going to win the majority of the time, you may only need to spend 4 to get to the quarterback. And you can play more coverage. If they're protecting and picking it up, you may need to spend 5 or 6 to get there. But one thing, if you're committed to pressure, is making sure that you find a way to get there. When you get into game plan, all right, the pass protections we run against our defense, that's film study. We want to confirm that during the week. Make sure for our game plan that we have the pressures. You may not run your whole pressure menu. You may have go into a game with 3, 4, 5 pressures, and just those you rep all week. But again, that comes from film study. You insert it into the game plan, and that's how you practice and get ready for the game. The other thing that's done with film study for this season that you'll get during the season is where are the mismatches. Okay, where are their weaker guys, and how can we put our best against their worst. From a coaching assignment perspective, we like to put coaching assignments for the game plan breakdown very, very specific. So we have an assistant coach. It's usually a linebacker coach or a D-line coach in charge of watching pass protection from the box. All right, that coach will usually be on binoculars in the box and will be looking at interior run blocking schemes and protections. Those are the main things in between series I want to get from that coach. Okay, is what was the protection? What did they give us? And so there's one guy, that's his sole job from the box, is on any pass pro. He's on binoculars, so he's focused on that, and he'll give me the protections. So I know I can talk adjustments on the sidelines. I'm on the field and stuff, so I know how to kind of call the game and know what they're giving us. That same coach is responsible for pass protection breakdowns in the scouting report. So he's broken down multiple films. He's broken down our film from the year before, and he knows, hey, these are the protections we're going to get against this team, and he presents that to our defense on scouting report install on Tuesday, in our Tuesday meeting, and he's also the same guy that's going to be watching it from the box. So he knows what he's seen on film, he knows what he's looking for, and is usually right on point as far as giving me information in between series. So having the right coach, a coach that you trust, to give you good information and responsible for that, I think is critical. General concepts. Once when they use certain pass pros, how are we going to attack them? So a couple of just kind of general game plan concepts. If we're getting man protection, the first thing that we do in our defensive game planning meeting is finding the mismatch. How can we get our best guys on their worst? How can we get, if they have, it's very, very hard to hide offensive linemen. Usually the right guard is going to stay the right guard the whole game. Sometimes they flip, but usually an old lineman's in the spot. You can't hide him, can't cover him up, and if we can find a way to get and attack that guy, we're going to do it. Other things that we do versus man is pick and try to pick against a man scheme, just like teams will pick against man coverage to get receivers free. We're trying to pick to get rushers free. So we have ways that we're going to pick. So core concepts against man protection: find mismatches and pick to get guys free. Slide protection. General concepts, what we're going to try to do is overload the slide with rushers and control the slide with the skies. So if there's a way for us to control the slide and get them to slide a certain way and blitz from the other side, we're going to do that. So we want to see if we can control the slide, and that's something that we can get off game film. Same thing with partial slide. Again, we want to overload away from the slide and attack what we call the man side, either with pick game over with overload rushers. Okay, so those are general concepts there. Now let's talk specifics. All right, finding the mismatches. Okay, how do we do that? How do we get our best on their worst? Again, usually we're going to have one, if not two, of our best rushers playing outside linebacker. How do we get that guy on a running back? How do we identify where the slide is, where the running back is going to protect, and get one of our best rushers on a running back? How do we get a speed outside linebacker on a slow offensive tackle that can't kick, slide, and can't protect the edge? How do we get that guy on you get that mismatch in our favor there? How do we get, usually they'll put slower, heavier guys that aren't as good pass protectors inside a guard. There's a reason why tackles are tackles. There's a reason why guards are guards. So how do we get a speed defensive end on a slow guard in our scheme? Okay, so that's an important thing we're looking for. And then with all the shotgun teams and all the spread, making the guy who's got to snap that shotgun snap, put pressure on him, put pressure on the center. Many times against gun teams, we're going to put our best D lineman, put him right at nose, and hopefully cause some havoc up inside on that guy having to snap and protect at the same time. Okay. Breaking down individuals. This is, again, what our defensive line coach does for the O-lineman, what our backer coach does against the running backs and tight ends. And then giving the players, arming them with what techniques we're going to use to beat them. So our D-line coach will classify offensive linemen, and he'll break them down on film, and he'll say, we may be looking at the right guard and say he's a short setter. Okay, he's a one-kick guy, and then he sets up, tries to mug you, tries to get hands on you. How are we going to attack him if he's number 64? Okay, we're going to edge him with speed or flip our hips on our guy. So our D linemen and backers will know when we rush against that guy how we're going to try to attack him. Another thing that we'll classify, especially the O-lineman with, is what we call a post center, where the guy's usually one-step kick and hinges and or opens. We see this a lot of time at tackle. How we're going to attack a post setter, again, we're going to edge him. So many times you'll say, okay, maybe swim or maybe different things that we're going to do to attack a post setter, edge him or with speed or flip the hips. An oversetter, we see this again a lot of times at tackle, a guy that can kick, and he's good at kicking for width and depth, and a lot of times oversets outside wide. The way we're going to attack that guy, we're going to tell our guys we want to change direction on that guy, set up outside, or influence outside and change direction, work back inside on an oversetter. And the last type of classification we get on the old line is what we call a vertical setter, where it's a tackle that's really good at kicking. He kind of speed kicks backwards. A lot of that weight ends up going on his heels. His weight ends up back, shoulders high. The way we attack those guys with power rush or bull rush and or stutter and change direction on those guys. Okay, so classifying those guys, breaking them down in the scouting report, have our D-line coach present to those guys, show them to them on film, and then let's just put the game plan together how we're going to attack those guys. One way to attack them with a rush, I want to at least give you one rush here, is if we felt like this tackle was slow and we had a speed weak side linebacker, just running an outside dog where you're bringing both outside linebackers will help, or if they're sliding the protection and the back is stepping this direction, getting a backer on a back. If this guard is slow and they're fanning the protection or turning it out, having a speed defensive end working through that B gap to put pressure on that guard, I think is a big part of what we do. Slide protection, ways we want to overload the slide. First thing we got to do is find out which way they're sliding and why, and that again comes from film study and stuff during the game. That's a game plan thing that our coach is watching for. Can we control the slide with disguise, and can we get a free runner or mismatch in our favor away from the slide? So if the slide is going this direction, they're sliding to our right, what we'd like to do is get a backer, or at least a backer or two away from the slide in the rush, and it could be two inside, an outside and inside linebacker, could be a backer and a safety, could be a backer and a corner, but bringing two off this edge away from the slide is something that we want to do, and we would just call that an overload dog, where we'd overload that side. And you can call it anything you want, but a way to get more than one rusher or your best rusher rushing away from the slide. Okay, so getting into some film, I want to kind of show you some examples of this. Let's start with mismatches, and I'll show you some game film looks. I know the video's not going to come through, but I'll show you what we're looking for. This happens to be a slide this direction with the back stepping here, and what we're looking for is this linebacker to win a one-on-one on that running back, okay? And what we're going to get, I'm going to kind of step you through this, is we're going to get this guy one-on-one on the back, and the way to get through that, and then put the quarterback down, okay, which is a big advantage for us if we can get a guy going that direction. So again, here's our outside linebacker, who's an athletic rush guy on a guy that usually likes to carry it, spends most of his time carrying the ball, not a lot of his time pass blocking, and may or may not want to be a good pass, spend a lot of time and invest in pass blocking. Here's what we got. Okay, so we got this is Ratu Rabella on a running back, a matchup that we really liked. Everybody else working tight rush lanes and keeping the quarterback here, and then working through to get what we want. And again, if that guy can get the ball on the ground and get the ball out, match up in our favor and helps us get there. Again, starting in the front, spending more time on the front, less time in the back. Okay, that's one matchup. Another matchup that we like, this is a speed outside linebacker here on a big tackle. Okay, so this guy coming off this edge, using his speed to get to the quarterback, he's going to work this edge, and you'll see, again, a mismatch in our favor. I'm going to speed through this. We like this. Again, this is that dog I showed you where both outside linebackers are rushing, putting pressure on both tackles. And what we end up getting here is both guys working that edge and coming free and getting to the quarterback. Okay, so we'll watch it from the end zone view. Again, big tackle on a speed rush, outside linebacker, big tackle on a speed rush, outside linebacker, and giving us a chance right now to get to the quarterback. This is a protection where the running back is responsible for inside. He's going to help with the nose to the mic, and it allows these outside linebackers to work one-on-ones. Okay. All right. Protection here, you can see speed outside linebacker versus a tackle. Okay, speed outside linebacker versus tackle on that edge. Again, mismatch in our favor. Okay, and allows us to turn that corner, this guy to get there and get to the quarterback. And again, I know the streaming video is not going to come through, but I'm going to stop it and try to give you some still photos of what it is and what it looks like here. Okay. Other things that we do, let's show you some overload. Actually, take that back. Let's show you other things versus man schemes. Pick. So other way, when we get man schemes, we want to pick. Right now, in this picture here, you'll see the center locked on the nose. You'll see the guard locked on the tackle, and the guard locked on the D end, and the tackle locked on the outside linebacker. A way to pick free and get those guys there is to work a pick game here. So we have both linemen working up the field, the outside backer working up and under. So it's a three-man pick game here, which pops the outside linebacker free and gives him a chance to get a free run at the quarterback, okay, which is what we're looking for. So they end up with 3-on-2 here. We end up getting, it was 3-on-3, now it's 3-on-2, and we get the one guy free. Let's watch it from an end zone perspective. You'll see up and under here. Again, let me go back, and you'll see working here, working here. Again, these three are manned on these three, and this outside linebacker working an up and under a pick game to get up underneath and get a free run at the quarterback. Okay, so one way to attack man protection. Another thing that we're looking for here is pick game between the guard tackle and the outside linebackers on both sides. So you'll see pick game here. So outside linebackers are working up and under here. And this puts some pressure on the guard to be able to handle it. Okay, watch it from an end zone view. You can see the outside linebackers coming up and underneath and working there and forcing the throw. Okay. One last mismatch I want to show you, kind of interior, we talked about was nose guard on, I'll show you this one here, nose guard on a center who has to shotgun snap. Okay, one thing that you can see Matangi's doing here, he's looking for the back. He's seen that the back is offset this way, so his help is that side. This center now has to snap and protect with that right hand, and you can see Matangi looking for the hoop, looking for the hoop squad, looking for the eligible guys, and he's going to rush and put some pressure on this center to snap and rush that gap. So gives him a chance to get in and get into the backfield quickly. I'll show it from an end zone view. You see, again, the D linemen always try to look and ID the formation, understand where the help is going to come from. You can see that back there. And you'll see, I'll freeze it here in a second. You can see he was our best defensive lineman. We put him at nose, especially in this game or these types of teams, and put some pressure on that center to snap, and it makes it a tough deal for that guy to get there and protect. So another way to find mismatches. Last thing I'll show you here is overload. Okay, and overloading versus, again, slide protections, whether it be partial slide or full slide. We are getting, in this case, we're getting slide to the boundary or slide to our defensive left. And so what we would like to do is get rushers coming off this side, whether it be a DB and an outside backer, or an inside linebacker and an outside backer here. And so now you can see those guys coming. They keep a receiver in to try to help protect, but we're able to get that backer from that side working there. I'll show you from the edge. Okay, we're going to be working this guy down here. We're going to be working, even though they keep a receiver in, and we're going to be working this backer this side. Okay, and there it is. And so it puts the tackle in a bind because it's not always clear which side we're going to overload. And if we can identify the slide and get runners to that side, it puts this linebacker or this guy again on a receiver and puts some pressure on that quarterback and gives us a chance to get there. Okay. Again, everybody else staying with tight rush lanes and keep it contained. Let's look at a couple of other slides. This is slide here, slide to our left, and what we're looking to do here is control the slide, not make it clean on which side we're coming from, and be able to bring it from here. Okay, so we'll show here. Okay, in this case we get a free runner. This linebacker that was right here is now right here and getting a free run to the quarterback. Obviously, us as coaches on the sideline, that's what we're looking for. And the ball is either going to come out hot or we're going to get hit and get there. Okay, so you can see it from an end zone view. I'll freeze it for a second here. Again, controlling the slide, things that we can do with centers and tackles and to get them to call and check the protections a certain way. And then let me speed it up here to getting the free run here from the outside linebacker. Okay, which is what we want. Okay, let's look at a couple other slide protections. This is with a running back included, and you'll see full slide here, the back stepping this way, and if we can get him and him on a back, we get a matchup we want, which is a rusher on a back, plus we can hopefully get a free runner. And in this case, you can see the back picks up the outside guy. The inside rusher gets a free run right here. That ball's, again, either got to come out hot, or if he holds it, we're going to get there. Okay, and you can look at it from end zone view. See the offensive line slide. See the rushers coming here and trying to put pressure on those guys. And again, we're always bringing it from different sides and different ways, things that we can do to get there. This will be the last one I'll show you. Again, you'll look at it, and we're going to end up overloading. We end up, sometimes we walk up and we'll show pressure and bring it from this side. Sometimes we'll walk up and actually come from the side. And with gun, blitzing from depth isn't always good because it takes too long to get there. So blitzing from the line of scrimmage, I think, is an important deal. And being able to walk up and do that, show different disguises, and here we come. So now they have, he's locked, they have this one, and the back's releasing this way, so they have two linemen to protect. We have three that we're running, and we're running a game, so he's up and under, and he's through, and is putting some pressure on that guard to get there, and it allows us to get to the quarterback, try to get to it quickly, again, by disguising and overloading, compromising the protection, putting some pressure on it, and hopefully this is the result. We'll watch it from end zone. Again, a lot of disguise. You can see this is a little 185-pound inside linebacker against some big fellas. This is 300. This is 330, and this outside linebacker is 195 pounds. These two guys are speed guys. This backer here for us in this game was also a speed guy. It was a 190-pound DB. So we had a lot of speed behind the front guys, and we were going to try to use that as our advantage against the slower offensive linemen. And in this case, we got some disguise coming from both sides. We're not sure how we're going to play it. He's matched here. He's matched on that back. And we're going to bring 3-on-2 through here and here and get to the quarterback. Okay, so you can see him with a free run and getting there and putting that guy down. Okay. Trying to stay on time. Matt, we are at the 50-minute mark, so I'm gonna stop now. That would be attacking from the mismatch side, attacking from pick side, and attacking from overload side versus slide protections. And want to open it up now for questions. Anybody has questions? Anything I can do to help? And again, hopefully that was helpful and something that you guys can utilize within your program.
Great. Thanks, Coach Tulloch. Really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us tonight. In just a little bit, we're going to open up the floor for questions. Coaches, you can submit your questions by the questions section of your webinar control panel, just like chat or instant messenger. If you've dialed in using a telephone, click the button that looks like a small hand on the vertical toolbar sticking out from your webinar control panel to ask a live question. Let's go ahead and start the Q&A portion. Coach, I'm going to leave screen control with you so that you can pull up any materials that you have as we go. And I'll read the questions off to you here as we go ahead and get started. Coach, how do you defend 3-by-1?
From a protection perspective or a coverage perspective?
Coverage.
Coverage perspective. All of our coverages adjust to 3-by-1. We see a ton of 3-by-1. So obviously man coverage and the guys that are responsible for the trip side are going to adjust and align to the trips. We're able to run cover 2 with adjustments from our linebackers in aligning to the number 2 and the number 3 receivers. A big part of what we do in alignment, whether it be 3 deep, 2 deep, or man, is making sure we can handle the 2-3-2. We number our receivers, the outside guys, number 1s, and then the interior guys, 2-3-2. The interior eligible guys. Those are the 5 total eligible guys, what we call the hoop squad. And just making sure that all of our guys understand their adjustments, they know their rules, and we're going to align to 2-3-2, whether it's doubles, whether it's trips, whether it's empty, whether it's 2-back. They're going to align. Whoever's responsible for matching up and aligning to 2-3-2, we're going to do that, whether it's man or whether it's zone where they're going to align to a guy in personnel. So the other side of there's different things that we do coverage-wise on the back side of 3-by-1 that may help us or give us an advantage. But we're always going to stay in the coverage we're in. We're not going to check out of any coverage. We're just going to adjust and push zones to account for where the eligible men are lined up. So.
Thanks, Coach. When you stem your fronts, can you still use all your stunts, blitzes, and dogs?
Yeah, we do. We do. And a lot of times we'll give those guys how we're going to stem. That's stuff that we usually will game plan during the week. It will be, hey, out of this protection or this formation, we want to stem this, and then here comes the blitz off of it. or if it's a timing thing, that's something, again, that we rep over and over and over again. We're not going to do stemming, any stemming adjustments in game. It's stuff that we've repped all week in our pressure period. And it's really easy in a 3-4 to stem one way or the other. It's being able to shade to an over or an under very, very easily, and allows us to get the matchups that we want. And just like coverage disguised timing is something that we work on, blitz disguised timing is something that we work on, stemming and disguised timing is something that we work on, coach hard throughout the year, whether it be practice in spring, or whether it be practice in training camp, or practice during the week of practice. But no, we're not limited at all with stemming and whatnot. We're usually, it's deliberate what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Coach. How do you align to big splits with gun spread teams? So 5-foot splits with the guards, 7-foot with the tackles.
Yeah, we're not going to. If our guys, our base alignment for our defensive ends is to align head up on the tackle, and those guys want to widen out real wide and try to take our defensive ends and our outside linebackers on there, we're not going to go. We're not going to go all the way out there. So we may end up hard inside. We may end up shooting those gaps because when they split wide, they obviously create big rush lanes. Where we may end up in what looks like bear with bringing our guys down in 3 techniques. But we're not going to chase those guys way out there by alignment. But again, we can disguise it and slant it. We can just kick those guys down into 3s. But I wouldn't recommend when they get in those big wide splits, chasing them out there. First time teams did that to us, they did a great job, and it hurt us a little bit. And we've been able to kind of build that into our package and plan for that and adjust to that. And again, the wider they are, it helps us get to that quarterback quicker. So bringing things up the middle, slants or backers up the middle, it helps us.
Coach, we've got a coach here who says when we play spread teams in the 3-4, we're weak against the run, especially with quarterbacks running more. So what are some ways that you'll defend against the run versus a team that's balanced?
I think that you're fine, and I think if it's done well, I think you can be stronger in the box in a 3-4. Depending on your alignments of your defensive ends and what gaps they're responsible for, as well as any quarterback run team, you're gonna have to add an extra hat to the box to do that. But if in our defense, our commitment is to stopping the run and bringing pressure to the quarterback, so we're going to keep numbers in there and force teams to either throw quick or throw to the perimeter, and have some answers for quick game and answers for perimeter throw, but not we're not gonna empty the box because a team goes to spread, because I think that gives teams what they want, especially gun run teams. So we're gonna commit guys to the box. We're going to at times try to get a linebacker or 2 added to the box, but also to the perimeter. So he's kind of half and half as a way to add numbers and do things to attack the gun run, especially if it's offset gun run, and attack certain things to where we think that they're going to run the ball.
Coach, how often does your D-line long stick across the O-line's face?
It really only in very certain pressures, and really only in pass situations. We don't do it a whole lot. We want those guys penetrating as much as possible. We want them being able to play the run as much as possible. And if it's a certain thing we're trying to do where we're really trying to attack and overload a protection, we'll do it. We'll do it in pass situations.
Coach, do you face any influence pulls in pass protection? So when the left guard would pull to the left like a G play, but the quarterback would roll right?
At times, but when they do that, we've seen that. But most teams that we see don't do that, or they've done it and stopped. Usually, when they get influence and we're running a pressure, and the quarterback's going away from the influencing puller or guard, they're short. And the teams that we play, I think, come to the game with the philosophy is we better leave that guy there to protect the quarterback, because if they don't, if they start pulling guys opposite the quarterback's usually on his own, and he's, if you're a pressure defense and you're committed to pressure, that quarterback's going to get killed if he's losing protectors. If protectors are trying to influence and go the opposite way. So we don't see much of that, or we may have seen some of that early, but I think teams that are going to throw the ball and are committed to protecting the quarterback, they're going to do everything they can to protect the quarterback and leave those guys in.
Thanks, Coach. Outside linebacker question. Do you reroute number 2 wide receiver with them in number 2, and where are their eyes pre-snap?
We do. We will reroute. I mean, reroute is something that's big for us in college because versus pro, because we can get hands on and beat that guy up until the ball's in the air. Our linebackers are going to read keys first, and then once they ID pass, then they're going to transition eyes to their threat, where it would be to number 2. And usually those guys are inside out, but working the inside half of the man and being physical and rerouting that guy. And we're not always, but we're going to usually try to reroute the guy to our help and to, depending on the structure of the coverage. But rerouting is big. It's a big part of what we attempt to do, and we like it because it throws off timing, disrupts routes, and again, a lot of times it gives a linebacker a chance versus a speed guy. And usually the speed guys don't like getting physical with linebackers. Linebackers have that size and strength advantage, and that's a way to leverage it and use it. So, yeah, we're going to transition eyes from keys to our threat, and try to be physical with those receivers.
Coach, continuing on outside linebackers, how far are your outside linebackers from the number 2 in order to make that reroute?
It depends. If they're a for-sure coverage guy and it's a pass situation, they're going to be within a yard of him. If it's in a base down, first down, we don't know if it's run pass. He may be potentially splitting the difference, which would be potentially putting him in a little bit tougher situation to get hands on that receiver. But again, our goes back to we usually will err on the side of our philosophy, which is run first and pass second, and we're gonna unless it's almost a heavy pass situation down a distance, we're gonna make sure that a guy can account and be responsible for the run, and then work to pass. A lot of the times with our backers, those guys, we're handling a lot of the receiver stuff with DBs. And or if it's a pure spread, at times those outside linebackers may be a nickel or a dime, and guys that can rush and cover. And so, those guys will play with leverage. If it's, if he's rushing off the edge, sometimes he'll disguise over number 2 and he'll come. Sometimes he'll line up at the edge and rush and or drop out and be a little bit late and underneath number 2, and then sometimes he'll split the difference. But straight base alignment, he may be splitting the difference between 2 and the line and the tackle.
Coach, we've got a follow-up question to that one. When your outside linebackers are 1 yard off, are they looking at the wide receiver or end man on the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. If it's base downs, they're going to be off the ball. They're going to be reading keys, looking at the line of scrimmage, and then be a few yards off the ball, which will give them time to read from the line of scrimmage or their key to number 2. So being a few yards off the ball buys them that time to do that.
Great. Thanks, Coach. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up our question and answer period here. Coach Tulloch, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge with us tonight. Thanks again to all the coaches who attended this webinar. We hope to see everyone attend our next webinar, which is Monday, June 10th, where we have Coach Reno Ferry, the running back coach at Towson University, with us to speak on turnover study, protecting the ball in the run game. Have a great night, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Matt. Take care, man.